Glass, and I spoke up and I said, well, right here in Brentwood you got Bobby Campbell, and
Are you ready? Okay. And we can stop it anytime, back up, move forward, whatever. Okay. Today is February the 15th, 2007, and we're here at the...
It's the 16th.
16th. I looked that up just for
I'll tease you.
Right.
No. This is going to be fun.
If we can get this straight. And I'm here with Alan Bryan, and we're going to talk about Brentwood as it used to be in the old days. Now, tell us where we're sitting right now.
We're sitting, the old house that I have pictures of was right up over there, and I see there's, driving in, I noticed one big old hackberry tree that's still there. All of the big maples are gone. And this was a horse field, a field here where my grandmother kept horses. And we would come out.
Who was your grandmother?
It's Emma Bryan, Emma Berry Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a picture of her.
She buried is in Berry Hill?
Yeah, Berry Hill, and up in Hendersonville. Her father was Horatio Berry up in Hendersonville.
Okay.
And he was born at Elmwood over in Berry Hill.
Berry Hill, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That brings it all together.
Yeah.
Now tell us what these pictures are. Show us what these pictures are.
Okay. Both of these, this is a picture of the front of the old house that was over on the hill. We called it Liberty Lodge. It's an old frame house. It's an old country type frame house. I spent quite a few nights out there with my grandmother, and her daughter Emma Minton and her 4 children, and Emma and Ollie Minton lived there with her, and 2 of my cousins, Carol Minton Nelson and Bibi Minton Harton, have a picture of them when they were a good bit younger.
Now let's identify them.
Okay.
I remember Emma when she was a hostess at the Commerce Union Bank.
That's right. Well, this is her daughter. She
Okay.
lived out here for a number of years.
And Carol is...
And Carol Nelson, she was married. She married Ed Nelson. And
Turn that to me, please. What's your monitor?
And Bibi married Mark Harton. That's Bibi. She's the tall one right here. Married Mark Harton, and they both live in Nashville now. And I was hoping to get them out here today, and their sister Beth is coming in from Atlanta, and they were going to visit her, and they didn't really think they had too much to offer anyway, so I think they would have if they got going kind of like we're doing here. You got some pros here as far as getting people going.
Because people remember more than they think they do.
You're exactly right. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm happy to participate in this. This is important for the future, I guess.
Which one of them is Carol?
Carol is the small one right here, and then that's Baby.
And she's tall now.
Yeah, Carol's a tall girl now. And
Was that made here?
yes, that was probably made in about, this picture was made in 1946, something like 45, 46, something like that. And it was right in front of the old house.
And when was that house built?
I don't know. I would guess around the turn of the century, if I had to guess, but
You all didn't build it?
no. Well, my grandfather bought it, Dr. W.A. Bryan bought it from Dr. Litterer, that's all I know, in 1918. And I've heard different stories. I always thought that it was called Liberty Lodge because he was a surgeon in Nashville and was head of the Department of Surgery at Vanderbilt and practiced medicine also. practiced surgery privately also. And I always thought that this was his escape from the pressure of being a surgeon. And that's why he called it Liberty Lodge. And Bibi told me that the reason, what she'd heard, he called it Liberty Lodge because it was purchased right after the end of World War I. And, you know, we knew we had liberty, and we thought that was the war to end all wars. And
It was patriotic.
it was a patriotic type thing. It's what Bibi said. I'd never heard that before. But it was about a 240-acre farm, went down to the Harpeth River. And we all had a lot of fun out here for many years and operating as a dairy farm. And so it's a lot of good memories.
Tell me about that, tell me about the dairy farm.
Okay.
Angle.
Okay. Let me tell you one thing first. I've never had much of a love for horses, and the reason is right out here, she had a big old brown horse my grandmother did and put me on it. There were a lot of low-hanging cedar trees out here. And that horse took off with me on as a 10-year-old boy. And I said, I'll never get on one again after that.
And left you hanging in the cedar tree.
Yeah, just about. I mean, I've seen those limbs go over my head. But anyway, that's something. It's funny when you're sitting here and you remember different things like that. But the dairy farm was down, the house goes fronted on Johnson's Chapel, and then you went down, there's a dog leg down there where it went by the old property lines, and you came down to Johnson's Chapel, and it made a hard turn to the left. And then about 150 yards down was the gate to the dairy farm. And you go down there, and there was one of the tenants' houses was down there, and then the dairy barn with a big old white silo and a little place where they refrigerated the milk in front of it, and then a big hay barn over across the little road there going to the dairy farm. And we used to go up there and get pigeons and raise them, bring them home, and then let them go, and all the neighbors back in Nashville getting mad at us because we never could get rid of them. But anyway, that's another story. And then the little creek down there that goes down the harbor, we'd go down there and play in the creek all the time. And it's just a wonderful experience as a young fellow.
Yeah.
And remember the Kennedys in the farm next door. And
Who were the Kennedys?
Tom Kennedy family.
Yeah.
That
Tell us about him.
well, he had
Duckhead.
Well, Duckhead, yeah. And he was head of the Metro Planning, and Old City Planning Commission, Metro Planning Commission for a good while too. And their family lived over, what's the name of the, I can't remember the name of the development.
Bill Reed.
Bell Reed, yeah. That's their development over there. And it was a neat area. I used to think coming out here was about like going to Chattanooga or something like that. Now it's nothing. That's amazing how
It was.
it was, yeah, I know.
Really. Go into the country for the weekend.
I know it. You just say, gosh, no, you gotta go to Brentwood, man. Then we'd go, Daddy would take us up to Noble's and get a Coca-Cola ice cream cone or something. We'd sit up there and talk to, it was a pharmacy it seemed at the time or something, wasn't it? And they had a counter there.
Albert Noble
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
pharmacy.
Okay. And we'd sit at the counter and get a Coca-Cola. And then my father liked to have a beer, so going home at night, we'd go by Fester's in Green Hills and get a beer on the way home. I wouldn't, he would. I'd get another Coca-Cola or something.
But tell us about Nobles now. That was an institution at that time when
Oh, yeah.
it was City Hall.
Yeah, that, exactly. Now, see, I didn't know that part of it. It's just that little community there and the drugstore and the little fountain thing on right down the corner. And I just remember going in there. And I don't even remember Mr. Noble. I guess Glenn Noble, I guess it was his father.
Yeah.
And then I remember Carl, yeah, and then the family, Gardner family, I remember Carl Gardner's father. I remember, yeah, the man, you'd go through the stone posts up there. I don't remember what we went up there for. There was something different people. Oh, and then Mr. Morrell would always, he would come around and thresh everybody's grain.
Harry.
Yeah, Harry Morrell. And I remember I went over one time over on the Kennedy's farm and watched him do that. I've never forgotten that. It's just, you know, just amazing, really. It's things that you just don't forget.
It was a different world.
It was. It was a beautiful world. It was just beautiful. And I remember Mr. Edwards, who his house was right over here. I've got a picture of the back of it. He had this flatbed wagon, and he had 2 mules hooked up to it, and he'd ride it down every morning, and then he'd let me ride back with him at night. And those old mules knew where, oh boy, they were excited when it came time to go home, because I guess that's when they ate. And they would come barreling up Johnson Chapel in Granite White. Well, they'd cut through back here, beside the house, and come up this way. And they would stand in the barn back here. And I mean, he didn't have to guide them or anything, they galloped all the way home. But it's just great, and then they get on the machine. I remember one time, the big field down here, I rode on the planter when they were seeding the big field between, well, part of this and on down to the dairy barn, big old field there, and sowing in soybeans.
Yeah.
And just, Mr. Edwards, and he worked for Eddie Arnold. And I moved down there where that big subdivision is now.
Sure did.
And he and his wife was, gosh, I can't remember, what was his wife?
He got killed down there on the farm.
He sure did. And his wife, wasn't Sadie, but anyway, when we moved out here to River Oak, we'd take our children over there and she'd babysit them sometimes.
That's right.
Just
You-
neat ladies. Then
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Tom Denny came out here. You remember him?
Tom did, yeah.
And he was the head man out here, and he had a son named Larry Denny, who was a good quarterback down in Franklin. And I hear he's an airline pilot now. I haven't seen Larry in years, but he played college ball, maybe at Tennessee Tech or something, I think.
Different world, ain't it?
It's interesting. It is. And we can learn a lot from it.
Now tell us about your tenure on the city council, city commission in Brentwood.
Okay. Well,
You started out on the planning commission.
that's right. John Sloan and I grew up together and were good friends, and
Was he mayor at that time?
he was mayor. And he asked me to be on the planning commission, and I did. Enjoyed it. I was on there about 2 months, and then Emery Pewitt, well, John wasn't mayor then. Emery Pewitt, I think, was mayor, and he had a health problem and had to get off. And Reuben Harris and John were on the commission, and John and Reuben, they both asked me to, because they had to agree, if I'd take Emery's place on the commission. And I said, I was honored that they would want me to be, I thought. And I told them I would, and Thomas Slaughter swore me in that night. That seemed very official, or something I remember. And about a week later, I was up at Noble's eating dinner, and I happened to get a national banner while I was eating, I think it was before really my first meeting, and on the headlines of the paper was this thing said, Maryland Farms announced, and they were going to have 100 acres of retail and 100 acres of office and about 4,000 apartment units or something like that. And after that, it was 2 years of turmoil. That's where I started getting my gray hair.
Those were turbulent times.
Oh, they were, but we grabbed hold of it, and we had people trying to put apartments all over the place here, because there were 34,000 apartment units approved for the city of Brentwood. Once they got sewer, the thing was that you couldn't do it, of course, until you got sewers. And once the sewers came in, that would have the capacity for about 2,500 houses, all of a sudden we had zoning under this boilerplate zoning ordinance we had for 34,000 apartment units. And could not get it under control, so we pulled apartments out with the idea of getting an overall zoning ordinance, which we did. And it's basically what we have now with a lot of modifications, but the basic concept's the same. But there was so much ruckus that we could not get anything on 1 acre. 1 acre just seemed to be the magic number, in which, you know, there's room for all kinds of different types of zoning, and predominantly a 1 acre could be the way to go. But I remember one time we were driving back from down at Destin or Fort Walton, and we'd always take our children down there. Coming up north on 65, they just put just cut those hills up right there in Davidson County. The thing went up over the hill there, and it just cut those hills all to pieces. And I saw that, and I knew how we were locked into this magic 1 acre per family. And that's when it came up. I suggested OSRD zoning, which would, if you had 100 acres and a third of it were hills, it wouldn't force a developer to go up and cut the hills up. You could cluster them down and leave the hills as open space. I just thought that was terrible, the way that road cut that hill.
Stonehenge is a subdivision like that.
Stonehenge was the first one, and then the one down near the Morrow property, can't remember the name of that one. Stonehenge was the first, there were two of them. The one down at the corner of Murray Lane, Granny White, and Stonehenge. And they've both been really good developments.
And Foxborough. He was-
Foxhall.
That's right. Mhm.
Something like that, the Morrow property, Claude Dunn did that.
Claude Dunn.
Mhm. And they turned out just fine. And it let people cluster things together, but still keep the ratio of 1 family per acre.
Tell me who Claude Dunn was. The reason I'm asking this is I'm trying to do an article on the house, on the Buchanan house.
Yeah.
And then next to the Methodist Church.
Mhm.
And he lived there, did he not?
He did.
Can you tell me who he was so I can finish my article?
Well, I don't know too much about him. He's a real nice gentleman. He was a builder
Okay.
and developer, and he developed Foxland Hall, and he lived there, and then he was going to try, there was something he was trying to get done with that would have been commercial or something like that. And there was a big uproar about that, I remember, and I think he finally gave up.
So part of it,
He was, I don't know what he did before he came out here and started building. He had a son, I don't know what.
Wayne Dunn, he was a builder.
Wayne, yeah, I don't know.
Then he had a
what's
son
that-
that owned the car dealership out in Madison.
Oh, he does,
Earl
okay.
Dunn.
Earl Dunn, okay.
Okay, so that's.
Yeah, they're really nice people, but
Okay.
since I got away off the commission, I gradually heard less and less about it.
He owned the house too down on Old Smyrna Road that Bob Spain, the pastor of Brentwood Methodist Church, lived in for a